In front of you are 14 bottles of Amaro, and today, in order, I'm going to be tasting them from the Montenegro to the China. It's going to be a long video. These are the first 6 bottles that we're going to be tasting today. I've tried to line up some of the most popular ones that you may have heard of before, starting with Amaro Montenegro, many people's first entry, and then moving along to Amaro di Angostura, Amaro Lucano, Amaro Nonino, Amaro Avena, and Amaro Maletti. There's going to be quite a lot more to taste, but just to give me a break, I thought we'll split it up a bit. So, without further ado, the first one I'm going to be trying is Amaro Montenegro. So on the nose, straight away you get this sweetness, a touch of the botanicals that are used. With all the different Amaro that we're going to try, you're going to get a different range of sweetness and bitterness, and it all depends on the botanicals that they've used and how long they've been macerated for. For this one, straight away, you can get a lot of the citrus peel, maybe a touch of clove too, and for many, it's the great entry-level Amaro that many people try initially. So definitely a lot of sweetness. The bitterness isn't too intense, but it is there. It's actually really delicious. It's intense, but manageable, and it's a great entry-level Amaro. You see it in many cocktails, whether it be the M&M, Mezcal and Montenegro, or some of the cocktails I've made in the past. It's really, really tasty, really juicy. I actually think it works really well just over ice with a bit of soda as a long serve. More of a summery drink for me. I can picture myself on Lake Como actually just having a nice little sip of this over some ice. Yeah, delicious. A lot of people use this as an alternative in a paper plate, but we'll talk about that cocktail a little bit later. Yeah, so there you have it, Amaro Montenegro. So next we've got Amaro di Angostura. You've probably heard of Angostura in the past, but maybe the aromatic bitters rather than the Amaro. In reality, they're one and the same. This long, big bottle is inspired by the aromatic bitters. It's got the same clove-forward notes that you're going to love, but I think it's got a touch more going on as well. On the nose, as I said, that clove is just so prominent. It's actually got a touch of ginger in there, a bit of heat, and it's no surprise for me that this works as a great replacement or alternative to the bitters in a Trinidad sour, or even paired with some relatively strong rums. I'd enjoy this in a Mai Tai riff, maybe used as a modifier with some nice overproof strong 151 rum. There's a lot of winter spice. I said clove, I said ginger. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot of cinnamon too. Oh, it's delicious. I think this would pair well with a fruity cognac as well, actually. In maybe a sidecar riff, a bit of lemon to lift it, a touch of orange. I love Angostura bitters, so it's no surprise that I love the Amaro too. Yeah, it's just a shame that there isn't more. Next, we've got the Amaro Lucano, and the first thing that strikes me instantly is this much darker colour. It's a lot darker than the previous two. On the nose, it's actually a touch softer. You still get the sweetness, and the one key thing that's coming through for me is actually this citrus note. It's common in quite a lot of the Amaro that we're going to be tasting today, but it's really prominent here. Okay, that's really smooth. It comes in at 28%, which is actually quite surprising. It is a really smooth sipper. I'm getting a touch of florality. It's definitely more subtle than the previous two, but it's not a bad thing. Yeah, there's maybe a touch of bergamot and lavender. It might pair well with like an Italicus actually, and Italicus soda, gin, anything light, floral. Yeah, I think that could be really good. Softest of the 3 we've tried so far, but it's not a bad thing. I like the delicate notes, and to me, Amaro doesn't need to be this big bitter bomb. It can be quite nice and quite delicate too, and for me, yeah, worth a try. Next, we've got Amaro Nonino. I've got to say, it's one that I've tried a lot before, and it's one of my favourites, to be fair. So why is it one of my favourite bottles of Amaro? Well, it's obviously because it's in one of my favourite cocktails. The equal parts cocktail we all know and love, the paper plate. Amaro Nonino paired with a lovely bourbon, lemon, and of course, Aperol. It's a match made in heaven. It's actually quite a light, fruity Amaro. It does have that bitter aftertaste, but coming in at 35%, it's actually incredibly smooth. The key thing for me, and it's why it works so well in the paper plane, is that big orange note. It pairs really well with a bourbon, even a rye, and it brings the best out of the Aperol. It's so sweet and so orange forward, it's delicious. There's still a touch of the spice. Obviously, you're going to find that in a lot of the Amaro. But yeah, if you've not made the paper plane, where have you been? Go and pick up a bottle of Amaro Nonino and enjoy it with me. Amaro Avena is the next one we're going to be trying. It's a drink that I've had quite a lot, to be honest, because I love a Black Manhattan. It's a whiskey-based cocktail, but it's obviously a Manhattan riff. 2 parts of your preferred whiskey with 1 part of Amaro Avena. You'll get this absolutely delicious cocktail. What you'll notice straight away, and it may have hinted at it from the Black Manhattan, is the colour. It's a really deep, rich Amaro. And on the nose, it translates. You get this sweet licoricey note. Not as strong as the note you may find in absinthe, for example, but definitely a sweeter, more anise rounded note. There's a touch of heat and a touch of sweetness. There's actually a bit of an ethanol burn there as well. I can taste the booze in this one, but it's only 29%. I really like a Black Manhattan. It's all about a good choice of whiskey paired with this brilliant Sicilian Amaro. 100% worth a try. And if you don't know how to make a Black Manhattan, maybe I'll make a video on it one day. The final of the original 6 is Amaro Maletti. It's a very old Italian Amaro around from the 1800s. Famous, apparently, for its anise note, but I think there's a bit more to it than just that. On the nose, I do get the anise. It's definitely there, but for me, there's this touch of gentian root, similar to what you might find in a bottle of Sousa, for example. Really floral, quite botanical, and yeah, I suppose the anise note is there. Also, really light. The anise note is there. I think I'm a bit desensitized to the anise after all the absinthe, but it's definitely there and I can find it. Yeah, for me, it's this gentian florality that comes through. How would I enjoy this best? Over ice. Not a big tonic fan, but I think the quinine and tonic could do really well to lift this. Yeah, maybe just over tonic, a nice peel of lemon. Yeah. Although we've been to Sicily, I think I want to go back with this. Yeah, it's delicious. Amaro Maletti. So we've had the first 6. Hopefully it's taught you a little bit more about Amaro and what I think about them. Now we've got quite an asymmetric lineup. It would have been nice to have 3 on this side and 3 on that side, but it is what it is. Again, we're going to have some brands, hopefully you've heard of before. Definitely Jaeger, for probably the wrong reasons, but I'll show you how to do it right. And of course, the Fernettes. China, you may or may not have heard of it. And then we've got the left field option, Amaro Cicciaro. So let's taste them. So, Jägermeister, you've probably heard of it as just a Jaeger bomb. And to be fair, some of you out there will be going, oh, it's not really an Amaro. It depends how you define Amaro. If you're going on Italian digestif, it's German. So no. But for me, it's a botanical herbal liqueur. It's an Amaro enough for me. I love it. I think it gets a bad rap. I think Jaeger bombs and the dive bars who serve it don't do this mature bottle enough justice. There's this licoricey sweetness to it. It's so nice. It's so citrusy. I use this in cocktails I really shouldn't. I like it as a replacement for rum in a Mai Tai. I'd even have it over ice. The one thing I wouldn't have it in is a Jaeger bomb. It's sweet. It's got a very soft, bitter aftertaste. It's not something that lingers as long as some of the others. And for me, I don't hate that. I actually really like it. It gives something different to what the other Amari offer. The licorice note is coming through quite a lot and I enjoy that. For someone who's quite primed on anise and quite desensitized to it, as you said earlier, I could really pick it up. Every time I try it, it just makes me happy. For many people, it's bad memories, but I actually think it's one of those spirits that it's worth giving a second shot at. To those who think that this isn't an Amaro, I just want to remind you that it does have 56 botanicals, which is more than an awful lot out there. Give it a go as an Amaro. Ignore those dive bars. Give a pour, put it over ice, little orange peel. You'll be in a world of joy. You might not be in the Black Forest, but you might be on Lake Como again. Jägermeister. Next we've got Amaro Cicciaro, I think. My pronunciation might not be the best, but it is a great Amaro. Why do I say that? Because I've had it quite a lot. What I love about this is it's not as intense and bitter as some of the others. Similar to Jägermeister, which doesn't have this long tail of the bitterness. It's quite a soft but quick finish in some ways. It's really delicate. There's a touch of florality there, which reminds me somewhat of the Amaro Lucano that we tried earlier. I'm getting a touch of lavender and gentian. I've got to say, I like a softer Amaro. We've had some punchy spirits here, but there's a reason I really enjoy this. And as you can see, it's quite a full bottle because I go through these regularly. Yeah, similar to the Jägermeister, I'd actually say give this a go over ice with a little orange peel, but for different reasons. That you need a reintroduction to. You need to see why I rave over it, and so many others do. This is not a reintroduction, but an introduction, and it's a great way to get started with the Amaro Chichara. Next we have China. It's one of the two, and again, don't hate me pronunciation. I'm, funny enough, not Italian. This is an artichoke-based Amaro, which is very unusual. Not a lot of cocktails about will use artichoke as their key ingredient. Not a lot of meals will use artichoke as their key ingredient. But the guys at China decided that's what they want to use in their Amaro. It has this earthiness that the others lack. Don't get me wrong, the bitter roots that a lot of them use, similar to how gins have their botanicals, do impart a touch of earthiness. But this is more intense in that. It's more bitter than the previous two, and it's more of a traditional Amaro. It uses a different base with the artichoke, but it's got all the hallmarks of a quality bottle of bitter. And in case you didn't know, Amaro in Italian just means bitter. Yeah, it's really delicious. It's quite juicy. It's quite sweet, but I wouldn't say as sweet as some of the others we've tried. Cocktail-wise, there's actually a really famous one, made in Death & Co. in the late noughties, called Chinatown. It's a slight twist on a martini, using the China and sweet vermouth with a gin, and it is delicious. So yeah, go and try some China. Fernet Branca is probably, out of these, one of the most well-known, definitely within the industry. Why is that? It's quite a decisive liqueur, unless you're from Argentina, in which the Fernet con Cola is actually the national drink. It's quite a dark, very fresh, minty Amaro. A lot of people are off-put by how minty this is. Just wait until we try this one. At first, if you're not accustomed to the bitter side of the drinks world, you may see this as just mint with a bitter aftertaste. But trust me, just give it a go, give it a few tries, and you'll start to pull some more flavours out of it. I love Fernet, it's fair to say. I've enjoyed it mainly in shot form, unfortunately, but the industry sour with Fernet Branca, green chartreuse is just a match made in heaven. I really enjoy it. For me, the mint is obviously prominent. It's a big minty herbal liqueur, but I get a touch of citrus in there, a touch of earthiness, similar to what you might get in the China. The bitterness, out of all the products we've tried today, is probably the longest lasting. It's one of the reasons I've left Fernet as a group as the last out of the 5, as it's going to be on the palate for quite a while, and it might be something that I struggle to get rid of. If you've not had Fernet Branca, where have you been? Give it a go, and maybe make an industry sour. If not, just shot it in an industry night. Fernet Branca. Last but definitely not least of this group is Fernet Branca Menta. If you didn't think the mint flavour in Fernet Branca was enough, don't you worry. The Branca family have decided to go a bit further with it. This is an even stronger mint-forward Amaro. But the good thing is, although it may be stronger in the mint flavour, it's actually lower in the ABV. It's going to be no surprise that it's quite minty on the nose. But I'd actually say it's a touch sweeter too. That's probably due to the lower ABV. The additional sweetness really helps for me. It's still got that bitter aftertaste that you'd expect from Fernet Branca, but it's not as intense. It's definitely softer for me, and probably more approachable for using it in cocktails. Fernet Branca's got this big presence that you notice in any drink. Even a quarter of an ounce will be noticeable. The Branca Menta can be used not only as an Amaro, but as a substitute for mint liqueur as well in some ways. It's a more complex version of creme de menthe for me, which is why it works really well in a grasshopper. So they have Fernet Branca Menta. So we've now tried 11 different Amari, and yeah, it's been quite enjoyable to say the least. To end, we've got something a little bit different. A lot of you may have heard of Mr. Black Coffee Liqueur. They actually do a coffee Amaro. And then we've got 2 other bottles, Amaro Nardini and China. I'm not too sure how it's said. I might just go with China, because I like China. I've never tried any of these 3 liqueurs, so it's going to be a case of you can see me try it off the first time, which might be quite intimate. We're going to start with Mr. Black Amaro. I don't know what I was expecting, seeing as though the bottle was actually, it is clear, but for some reason that still surprised me when it looks like coffee. It smells like coffee too. I've tasted so many bitter flavours. The smell of coffee now is just not expected. I'm used to all these herbs and botanicals. It's definitely not similar to the others. That's really interesting. It's got so much going on that it's quite hard to actually think about each individual aspect. The coffee is prominent, as you'd expect with anything from Mr. Black. But you've got this citrusy sweetness to it. Obviously it's a cold brew liqueur and it's not really that sweet, the coffee liqueur. And it's one of the reasons I love it, because you can tamper the sweetness, you can add some, and it's a nice base to work on for espresso martinis or any coffee cocktails really. Oh, this would be so interesting in an espresso martini, maybe 50-50 with their liqueur. Maybe a mezcal base with some smoky vegetal notes. The citrus notes throw me slightly. It's nice, but it's not something you'd expect from such a strong coffee smell. I'm gonna give that like an 8.5 out of 10 for a new drink. That's a solid bottle, and yeah, I wonder if these are gonna score just as high. Next up, and penultimate in this video, we've got Amaro Nardini. Again, I've not tried it before, so let's read the bottle together. Apparently, I'm gonna get a little bit of licorice, which is irresistible. I'm also gonna get some mint, bitter orange, and gentian. Sounds like a bit of a cross between 3 or 4 that we've had today. Is it Fernet Branca cross with Lucano? Maybe, let's see. That's a Coke. Now that looks more like an Amaro. There's a touch of mint. We're not quite into the Branca and Branca Menta territory. That might be... let me think. Yeah, I think that could be the best I've tried today. That is gorgeous. So what we're getting there is we're getting this mint, definitely. It's on the forefront, it's quite a strong mint. It's dissimilar to the Branca and Branca Menta. The mint leaves quite quickly. It doesn't carry on for the finish. The finish is more licorice, anise. I'm getting a touch of the gentian. Not as strong as you get in a Sousa, for example, but it's prominent. It's there, it exists. What's prominent for me is the citrus peel. It's really nice. Sweetness-wise, it's not overly sweet, which I prefer. I think it gives more options in a cocktail, similar to what we spoke about with Mr. Black's coffee liqueur. It's a cold brew and it doesn't have overly sweet notes. This matches that template in many ways. 29%. It's quite smooth for 29%. It's really nice and easy drinking. Yeah, I think that is a dark horse in this video. I really wasn't expecting either of the 3 to jump out at me, but we've got that 8.5 there, and maybe I'll sit on the fence and say another 8.5. Can't pick between the 2. Maybe an 8.75 because it looks more like an Amaro, which to many would actually have an impact. And coffee isn't necessarily the one flavour you'd imagine in an Amaro. But yeah, Amaro Nardini, very interesting. Next up, and finally in this video, we've got China. Similar to the Jägermeister and Mr. Black's Amaro, this isn't Italian. This is actually French, and it looks a bit like a French wine. That is really bright, really fresh. Out of everything I've smelled today, including the Branca and Branca Menta, this probably smells the least traditionally like an Amaro. Ooh. It's 40%, which I've just found out. It's quite an intense 40% too. I thought I'd be rounding the video off with quite a smooth French delicatessens, but no. This has got quite a bit of punch. I'm getting quite a lot of grapefruit. The colour is definitely what you'd expect from an Amaro, but in many ways it leans more towards an aperitif rather than a digestif. It reminds me more of a fortified wine rather than an Amaro because of how light it is. It's not heavy, it's not got this same body. It's pleasantly refreshing after all the heavy Amari that I've drank this video. It's quite acidic as well. It's got a tang to it. Really nice. Again, surprising. I did not expect either of these three to blow me away. And the fact that all three halves seems incredibly coincidental. We'll round off by saying China China is probably another 8.5 to 9. Is it an Amaro? That's the argument I would have. But is it tasty? 100%. It's gorgeous. There you go. 14 Amaro, and I'm still standing. So, thank you for watching. You've seen me taste 14 different Amari. To be honest, it's been a bit of a slog. We've got through them. I could have set up and had a nice outro scene, but at the end of the day, I just want a bottle of water at this point and I need to sit down. So, we've enjoyed it. It's been a really good video to make. For me, for someone who likes to make cocktails and enjoys the R&D side of it, having this side-by-side tasting is essential to make sure I know what I'm doing and what to pair with different flavours. It's eye-opening trying something side-by-side. I'd always recommend, if you're trying something for the first time, try it alongside something that you're quite familiar with and you can really pull out the flavour notes then. Trying something on its own and just smelling it on its own, it's really difficult to actually to gauge whether it's nice, whether you like it and what it could fit in. So, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop it a like. And if you want to see more, you can always subscribe. There'll be regular videos every Monday, similar to this, and maybe not similar to this. If you'd like to see me on the daily, you can always head over to Speakeasy UK on Instagram, where I'll still be posting daily content. Again, some like this, but most probably not like this. Until next time, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope to see you soon with a lot less bottles of Amaro. Cheers.